With a growing population of 32,000 students at GSU, the school is looking to expand the campus. Find out what new addition to GSU will begin construction next year.
Pope Benedict XVI announced his resignation last week. Stay tuned to hear what Georgia State's Catholic Student Association thinks of this historic decision.
And has your iPhone or wallet been stolen on campus? If so, you may not be alone. We found out what campus police are doing to solve the latest string of thefts. Good evening, Georgia State. I'm Cody Long.
And I'm Tia White.
President Obama made a visit to Atlanta last week. Obama stopped in at College Heights Early Childhood Learning Center in Decatur to promote education. The president cited Georgia's excellent early education program in his State of the Union address last week.
A string of robberies took place recently at a Georgia State Spirit Day. Multiple phones, wallets, and even boots were stolen from backpacks of cheerleaders and members of the dance team. Caitlin Leonard has more on the investigation.
On Saturday, February 2nd, right here in Dahlberg Hall, the Georgia State dance team and cheerleaders gathered for their annual Spirit Day. Little did they know, in a matter of minutes, most of their valuables would be stolen. So that day was a Spirit Day event, and we were working with little kids from elementary schools up to high school, and we were teaching them a dance for the basketball game. We left our bags for 15 minutes outside of the door, and once we came back to our bag 15 minutes later, literally 15 minutes, and our teammate noticed that one of her belongings were missing. So everybody looked throughout their bag, and they noticed that their phones were missing, their wallets were missing, shoes were missing, and their makeup bags were missing. And it's just a misfortunate event that we were helping out the community and helping kids and teaching them a dance for the basketball game, and our stuff just ended up missing. Hundreds of dollars worth of stuff.
My whole bag was gone, which had my wallet, my uniform, a couple other things, and also my shoes were gone, my UGG boots were gone. And since then, I got a new phone, and I got on, and it has photo stream where your photos upload every time your phone is on Wi-Fi. And I see pictures of the girl who stole my phone. So I have that, and it's her and her boyfriend and her daughter, and I'm like taking pictures in my Uggs, and it's crazy.
Due to lack of cameras here in Dahlberg Hall, it has been extremely difficult for us to find out who the thieves were. But Georgia State Investigations Department is working on it as hard as they can. This is Caitlin Leonard for Panther Report.
Television's Dr. Drew Pinsky spoke to students at Georgia State last Thursday. Dr. Drew answered GSU students' questions about love, relationships, and life. Pinsky is the latest speaker in the Distinguished Speakers series organized by Campus Events. Distinguished Speakers events are free and open to the public.
A flash mob took place on Valentine's Day in downtown Atlanta to raise awareness for the prevention of violence against women. Many Georgia State students took part in the mob organized by the awareness group 1 Billion Rising. The group first held a rally at the Capitol and then made its way to Woodruff Park for a flash mob performance.
We're going to defeat the violence that continues to beset our country and our nation and our world. And guess what? You're a part of the chosen generation who's rising up. God bless you. We love you. And we can't stop here. We got to keep it going.
1 Billion Rising organized a flash mob on Valentine's Day in cities around the world to bring attention to their cause.
The head of the Roman Catholic Church, Pope Benedict XVI, announced his resignation last week. He is the first pope to resign from office in 600 years. Here's Stephanie Twum with reaction from the GSU Catholic community.
On Monday, February 11th, Pope Benedict XVI said he will be stepping down from papacy, and he will officially resign on February 28th. On Monday, February 11th, Pope Benedict was expected to release a statement due to the canonization of 3 potential saints. However, he discussed his resignation, saying that due to his health and lack of strength, he can no longer be a pope.
Right now, I'm across the street from Immaculate Conception, a popular Catholic church here in Atlanta, Georgia. There are 1 billion Roman Catholics here in the United States. So the Pope stepping down makes a huge difference in the Catholic community. I interviewed Father Stephen to get the answer.
We're a little bit taken back, you know, because it hasn't happened in 600 years. The church is 2,000 years plus years old. And you know, when a pope resigns, when a pope has been elected, it has been traditionally, you know, known as a job for life. You know, to their demise, I think we can all remember John Paul II when he was elected in '79. So he was, and he was a fit, healthy athlete, and he was pontiff for, oh my goodness, over 20 plus years.
Last week, the 55th Annual Grammy Awards were held in LA. Georgia's own Zac Brown Band took home the Best Country Album Award for their latest album entitled Uncaged. This is the second Grammy for the Georgia Country Music Group. Other big winners included Mumford & Sons for Best Album, Frank Ocean for Best Urban Contemporary Album, and Fun for Best New Artist.
The research program at Georgia State continues to grow, and with that growth, there is a need for more buildings. Miriam Trigueros sheds light on construction for a new science building.
Georgia State Facilities Management Services is planning to construct a new science building next to the Petite Science Center. This new science building is scheduled for construction in early 2014 and completion in 2015. The construction of the building will cost $21.7 million. Kimberly Bauer, Director of Facilities Design and Construction Services, explains where the money is coming from.
This money is money from the state. It is not student fees, or we are not floating any bonds for this.
The Petite Science Center building behind me has only been here for 3 years, but with the research program growing here at Georgia State, there are plans for this empty lot to have a new science building be built and possibly graduate housing.
Even though we just opened the Petite Science Center about 3 years ago, we're already running out of space. We have new researchers that are being hired, but some have already been hired, and we have nowhere to put them really.
Georgia State University is attracting more researchers and graduate students, which brings up discussion of providing them with housing.
I think that would be a good addition, especially because this area is kind of hard to find housing if you don't live on campus. And for a grad student, you're here a lot after hours, kind of like I am right now.
Earlier today, the Board of Regents approved Hawk Architecture Firm as the design company for the new building, and they have until November of this year to complete the design layout before construction can begin next year. I'm Miriam Trigueros in downtown Atlanta, Panther Report.
Coming up next,
Georgia State has a new Miss GSU. Stay tuned to learn more about her plans as Miss GSU 2013, her platform, and what made her enter the pageant.
Does it feel like your alarm clock goes off earlier every morning? Do you have trouble waking up? Have you seen a doctor about this? If not, you can get your daily dose of caffeine at Saxby's.
With increasing tuition costs, students are finding new ways to cover their expenses. Some turn to retail and restaurant jobs, and many GSU students have found a new way by becoming sugar babies. Reporter Alexis Carthen has more on how Georgia State has become the fastest growing school for sugar babies.
When it comes to finding new ways to cover the increasing cost of tuition and other living expenses, many Georgia State students are getting creative and have found yet another way to finance their lives. That is, becoming a sugar baby.
Correct. I would say that a sugar baby is when usually a significantly younger woman usually has a relationship with the older guy who usually showers this person with gifts or, some sort of indulgences.
SeekingSugarDating.com defines a sugar relationship as a mutual benefit to both parties involved. On one end is assistance, and on the other is being in pleasant company with an attractive man or woman and appreciating the companionship. Atlanta Journal-Constitution, GSU has the #1 fastest growing source of sugar babies. Jennifer Gwynn, PR manager of SeekingArrangement.com, says the numbers are calculated by the amount of student emails used when registering on the websites. One of the most common misconceptions is that all sugar babies are women. However, in a recent article on the topic, The Signal stated there are about 100 male sugar babies to every one sugar mommy. The sugar lifestyle is often compared to that of prostitution because of the obvious exchanges between the two parties. A few of our students had different opinions.
It'd be like backwards prostitution, seeing as the guy who's showering them is the one who's giving, so.
I mean, they're paying for their education or whatever, but with prostitution, yeah, maybe they're financing their life in another way, but it's not, I don't really see it, prostitution. I don't really see anything.
In a society that all but encourages people to marry for the tax benefits, what is it that makes these sugar relationships so different from contemporary marriages?
It goes back to the stability factor. I mean, if you're looking for stability, and in this world, financially is what really, helps with stability. So, I mean, it makes a lot of sense. Yeah.
Books, food, and rent are just a few expenses students find themselves working to pay for. With the economy at a weak point and blogs like East Coast Sugar, young people are turning to sugar relationships, giving a well-off individual the opportunity to invest in their education without falling into piles of debt. On the contrary, the ideal of these relationships are constantly being compared to prostitution, making some worry about what this ranking will do to the image of the university as a whole. Reporting from Georgia State University, Alexis Carthen, Panther Report.
Atlanta Falcons CEO Rich McKay says the Falcons will be playing in a new stadium in 2017. The team's lease with the Georgia Dome ends in 4 years, and they plan to play in a new stadium with a retractable roof. Mayor Kasim Reed has proposed a plan to pay for 20% of the stadium's construction with taxes. The funding plan is yet to be approved by the City Council's Finance Committee.
Georgia State began its 2013 spring semester with a few new faces and a new Miss Georgia State University. Miss Emily Diamond, a junior and psychology major, was crowned this year's Miss GSU on February 9th.
My platform is Broadway Cares Equity Fights AIDS. It is created by the Actors Union for Broadway, and they want to raise money and awareness for the cause of AIDS. So what they do is they perform benefit concerts throughout the country. They actually have some in Atlanta over the summer, and they also have benefit CDs that you can purchase, and they also have these little bracelets, and they look like Live Strong bracelets, but they're red, and it has Broadway Cares Equity Fights AIDS. They're only $1, and all proceeds go to fight AIDS.
In addition to carrying out a platform, Miss GSU has other responsibilities.
Some of the responsibilities include being at the homecoming game, going to our Constitution Day activities, going to different distinguished speaker series. There are a lot of different special events on campus of which she will be representing the institution. So that's one part of her job.
After winning Miss GSU, Emily Diamond is only 2 crowns away from the Miss America crown. She will go on to compete in this year's Miss Georgia pageant in June. After graduation, she plans to pursue a doctorate in human sexuality.
I want Georgia State students to know that I am approachable, and I like giving advice. I like helping people out. I want to show people around, especially those who are new here, and just I want to give them the Georgia State experience.
For anyone considering entering the pageant next year, Ms. Diamond has this to say.
This was my first pageant. I went into it just being myself. If people are questioning whether or not they want to do the pageant next year, do it.
I'm Catherine Witherspoon, Panther Report.
Tickets for Panther Palooza starring LA rapper Kendrick Lamar went on sale this week. Tickets are $10 for students with a student ID and $20 for guests. If you missed out this week, you can still get your tickets at Ticketmaster.com starting on February 25th. Panther Palooza will be April 6th at 8 p.m. in the Sports Arena. Valentine's Day was this past Thursday, and there was some mixed reviews on campus about how the perfect Valentine's Day should be spent. Cedric Alexander went out and got very different students' perspectives.
Valentine's Day is a very special occasion for many people around the world, but how was the experience for college students? Here's what they said. Like, love, or hate Valentine's Day?
Like, yeah. I love Valentine's Day. I love the colors because pink and red are my favorite colors. I hate it. I hate Valentine's Day. It's the worst holiday ever.
How much would you guys say is too much to spend on a Valentine's Day date?
$40. For a guy, like $10. Yeah.
It depends on who you getting it for.
More than $50 is probably pushing it. 100.
maybe 100 minimum.
If you're getting it for your wife, I mean, there's no limit. Yeah. If you're getting it for your girl, I mean, we got to be realistic. Underneath 100, maybe 150.
400.
It's really the thought that counts, isn't it?
Is there too much?
Do you feel like Valentine's Day is hard for college students?
Yes. Hard for single people? Cursed ex-boyfriends.
Money's tight, obviously. So yeah, probably.
No, absolutely not. I don't think so.
I don't think so.
Not at all. Not really.
Yeah, people do expect stuff, and then if you don't have it, it's kind of hard. Yeah.
Cedric Alexander, Panther Report.
The search for fugitive and former cop Chris Dorner ended last week in California. The story that captivated the country came to a climax when Dorner had a shootout with police at a cabin in the mountains of Big Bear Lake. Dorner was America's most wanted fugitive for 3 alleged murders. One officer was killed in the shootout before police believe Dorner shot himself and burned the cabin to the ground.
The debate on class sizes never ends at a school with 32,000 students, and with such a large population on most Georgia State students attend class in large lecture halls. Reporter Shawnice Mason digs deeper to find out how students and professors feel about the effectiveness of big lecture classes.
We went to the core of Georgia State to explore the advantages and disadvantages of large lecture-style classes. Communications professor Ethan Tussey likes both small and large classes because they both offer different types of learning styles.
I like both. I like the idea of introducing things, and I also like going very specific.
Some ways to make large lecture classes more effective are the usage of office hours and social media.
I know we're doing a lot to increase the sort of digital footprint of the classes by having chats and things like that to give students who are struggling or not navigating by themselves very well opportunities to connect.
Definitely the office hours are the big plus that I've used throughout college years, and just attending to them and just being one-on-one with the professor when they give you the opportunity to.
Most of the time, lecture halls are effective for newer students to kind of find out what their major is like.
It depends on what you're trying to get out, right? An introduction to a large group of people, or make everybody a perfect media scholar in a lecture class.
And I'm Shanice Mason, reporting from downtown Atlanta for Panther Report.
As many students may have noticed, Georgia State's General Classroom building has been renamed. The building formerly known by students as GCB is now called Langdale Hall in honor of former university president Noah Langdale. Langdale was president of GSU for 31 years. During that time, the student population grew from 5,000 to 20,000. And the campus expanded from just 2 buildings to several city blocks. Langdale died in 2008, but his name will remain a part of the downtown campus he helped build. Stay tuned for sports after the break.
Welcome and thanks for tuning in to GSTV. We are the Executive Board members of Student Government Association, and my name is Marcus Kernizan, your president.
I'm Taylor Briggs, the Executive Vice President.
My name is Christian Hill, Vice President of Student Services.
My name is Adriana Michoni. I'm your Vice President of Academic Affairs.
My name is Thea Mahumuza. I'm your Vice President of Budget and Finance.
I'm Danielle Kleiman, and I am your Vice President of Public Relations.
My name is Jarrell Abrams, and I am your Vice President of Student Life.
Are you worried about your schedule getting in the way of the educational and cutting-edge seminars that Georgia State University has to offer? Well, we have great news for you. Starting this semester, these seminars will be available online thanks to GSTV and a partnership from us here at Student Government Association. From the prospect of resume building to the distinctive keynote speakers, we know that these seminars will help enrich your student experience.
Thanks for tuning in, and remember, our student government sit-in meetings will be broadcast live on GSTV every other Thursday at 7 p.m. Go Panthers!
Good evening, Georgia State. I'm Sean White with your Panther Report Sports Update. Lakers owner Jared Buss died on Monday at the age of 80 years old. He presided over a team that won 10 NBA titles and showcased some of the biggest names in professional basketball. Buss had been suffering from an undisclosed form of cancer since last year. The all-time greats who played for Buss's tenure were Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, Magic Johnson, James Worthy, Shaquille O'Neal, and Kobe Bryant. Buss bought the Lakers from Jack Kent Cooke in 1979 for $67.5 million. Danica Patrick has made history before as a woman and a racer in Indianapolis and Japan. Patrick won the Daytona 500 pole Sunday, becoming the first woman to secure the top spot for any race in NASCAR's premier circuit. Danica Patrick says, "I was brought up to be the fastest driver, not the fastest girl." The rest of the field will be set in dual qualifying races Thursday. The White House says President Obama played golf Sunday with Tiger Woods. Woods joined Obama at the Floridan, a secluded and exclusive yacht and golf club on Florida's Treasure Coast, where President Obama is spending the long President's Day weekend. The White House says Woods departed after the first 18 holes, but President Obama stayed to play another 9. David Cohen has been a GSU sports commentator for over 30 years. He has called some of the biggest sporting events for GSU, including basketball games and football games. In a recent interview, I sat down with Dave and asked a few questions about his legacy and how he began this commentating journey.
When I first got to Georgia State in 1982, Brent Weber was calling the games, and he left that following season after my first year here, and he went off and embarked in his radio career. And so I had been a part of the broadcast that very first year in 1982-83. And so I just naturally moved into his spot in calling Panther basketball. And as I sit here today, I just never left. You never think you're going to be somewhere 30 years after the fact, but 5 years became 10 years, and 10 years became 15, and 15 became 20, and so on and so forth. And here you and I sit 30 years later, and, you hear people say time flies, and I guess that is true when you sit here and look back at it. All the road trips, all the games, all the road games, and kind of goes by in a flash, even though in real time it's 30 years. Anyway, getting back to your original question, I just kind of moved into it. It was a natural progression from Brent doing the games and then moving on, and then me moving in and taking over. And then, of course, the broadcast kind of changed too, because as Georgia State grew as an athletic department, it really wasn't a situation where necessarily they wanted a different student doing the games every year. As the program grew in stature and the program grew more, we'll use the word professional for the descriptive term, they wanted someone who was a radio professional, or someone who was hoping to be at the time being a radio professional, to be the one to be on the radio calling their games.
The basketball team will face off against Northeastern in their last home game of the season. The Panthers are coming off of 2 big wins against Hofstra and George Mason. In the last meeting, GSU beat Northeastern 78-73 earlier this season. The game will be played at the GSU Sports Arena at 7 p.m. So Panther fans, come out and support your team and cheer them on for their home game finale. Double amputee Olympic competitor Oscar Pistorius, also known as Blade Runner, was arrested on Valentine's Day for murdering his girlfriend Reva Stinkham. Prosecutors say Pistorius shot Steenkamp multiple times in his upscale house in Pretoria, South Africa. Pistorius, who remains in Pretoria police custody, returned to court yesterday for the start of his bail hearing. The hearing was the first opportunity for the prosecution to describe the evidence police gathered against the 26-year-old W amputee runner and the reasons why he was charged with murder. I'm Sean White, and this has been your Panther Report Sports Update.
Thank you for joining us. That's all for this week's Panther Report News.
Don't forget to check us out on Channel 91 in University Housing and on our YouTube page, GSTV Panther Report, every Wednesday at 6 p.m.
And make sure to like us on Facebook at facebook.com/Panther Report. I'm Cody Long.
And I'm Tia White. Have a good night.